squishy all over again. Want the bands, the mud, the bands, the mud, and the bands. It's a marathon slog. MTV's Woodstock 94 revisited. All day Sunday. Because porta potties are forever.
The Week in Rock on MTV is brought to you by...
Welcome back to the Week in Rock. A week when the issue of young people and smoking really caught fire. Last Tuesday, the Philip Morris Company began stamping the phrase "underage sale prohibited" on warning labels on packs of its Marlboro Light cigarettes and promised all of its brands would have the stamp by year's end. Critics noted that such warnings have rarely been effective and that minors have long been forbidden from buying cigarettes yet continue to smoke by the millions. Critics also charged the new Philip Morris label change is just a public relations ploy aimed at dodging stricter government regulations. And in fact, on Thursday, President Bill Clinton did propose strict regulations on cigarette sales and advertising. The goal, to cut smoking by minors in half. His plan includes banning vending machines, mail-order sales, and free samples outright, as well as banning outdoor cigarette ads within 1,000 feet of schools and playgrounds. Advertisements in magazines with significant youth readership would be able to use black and white text only, no pictures. Cigarette ads at sporting events and tobacco brand sponsorship of sporting events and concert events would also become things of the past. And tobacco companies would have to foot the bill for a $150 million campaign to keep kids from smoking. As you might expect, 5 tobacco firms promptly promised to sue the federal government for its overstepping its mandate. Tabitha Soren was in Washington, D.C. Friday morning to discuss the tobacco war and other issues with President Clinton. Tabitha?
Thanks, Allison. Smoking rates among teenagers is climbing. Every day, another 3,000 young people light up a cigarette. And while many teens write it off as a phase, in actuality, close to 75% never give up the deadly habit. And that's why President Clinton is launching this campaign. Mr. President, minors buy 1 billion packs of cigarettes a year. How are you going to make not smoking and quitting smoking cool and attractive to young people?
Well, I think we have to do several things. I think, first of all, the government's responsibility is to make sure that the young people understand that it's addictive and dangerous and can kill them. And that about 1/3 of the young people who start smoking every day, about 1,000 people a day, young people start smoking, who will have their lives shortened because of it. The second thing I think you have to do is make it less accessible. And then the third thing I think we have to do is make it less attractive. That is, we need to change the advertising and limit the ability of advertising to be a lure. We had a young teenager in here who was part of an anti-smoking group yesterday who said to me, I was so touching, she said, you know, she said, we look at these TV ads, she said, these girls smoking, they're always tall, they're always thin, they always have long hair, they're always pretty. Said, it's just like when the boys who are young see a movie star holding a gun. I mean, it was shocking, you know, what she said.
Do you worry about making smoking more enticing by making it more forbidden to young people?
Oh, well, I think you know, that's always a concern. There could be some of that. But the staggering magnitude of the damage that it's doing is so great. I think if young people really understand how dangerous it really is and all the things that can happen to them and how it can affect their future, I don't think it'll be more glamorous.
Did you ever experiment with cigarettes as a teen? Did you go through that phase?
I didn't, but I'm surprised I didn't, but I didn't. The reason I didn't is because my mother was a heavy smoker. She smoked a couple of packs of cigarettes a day until my daughter got her to quit for her 8th birthday. When my daughter turned 8, her grandmother gave her that for a present. So I had a bad feeling about it from childhood, but it was only because of that. I'm sure I would have done it otherwise.
What would you say to Chelsea if you saw her fall under peer pressure of some of her friends and start smoking, or if you found ashes in her bedroom in an ashtray or something? I
would talk to her about it and tell her I thought it was a bad idea. She's the most militant person in our house, though.
Yeah, doesn't sound like you're worried.
I mean, she and Hillary are always on me. You know, as I confessed yesterday, I still, once in a great while, maybe 5, 6, 7 times a year, will smoke a cigar when I'm outside. They think that's awful at all, and I've got to do better with it. But if they see me chewing one on the golf course or something, they're on me, you know. So my family is doing a better job with it than I am.
I was wondering, you know, how far do you plan to go when a musician sits down to talk with me and they're smoking a cigarette? Should I not air that footage on MTV? Should I ask Keith Richards to put out his cigarette before he does an interview with me? Should this go for all television? Because a lot of young people watch MTV.
I think that's a decision for you to make. I think you should ask him to put it out, because I think there are a lot of young people.
It is Keith Richards.
I know. And I know he's an icon, you know. For me too.
I don't know if he might, his heart might stop if he doesn't have a cigarette.
That's a great thing about their endurance, you know. And but that's a decision that, you know, each network, each interviewer, they'll have to make.
Mr. President, I want to say this as politely as I can, but I think a lot of our viewers are going to be wondering, why should they listen to you about this issue?
Well, they don't have to listen to me about this issue. What we're going to do is change the law. But I'll tell you why they should listen to me or to anybody else. That I would say, if they want to listen to me, don't listen to me. Look at the medical research. Look at the evidence. This is about their lives, not mine. I've lived most of my life. Their lives are ahead of them. And the reason they should listen to me is that the evidence is on my side, not just because I'm president. We know that nicotine in cigarettes and smokeless tobacco is addictive, is destructive, and will shorten the lives of 1 out of 3 people who start smoking on a regular basis. Now, that we know that. So what they should do is to say, okay, here's the evidence. Now, what kind of life do I want to live?
While I have you, there are a couple of other issues I wanted to ask you about that are important to young voters, in addition to smoking and their health, which you sort of rattled off very quickly. But the first, though, the woman best known as Jane Roe, whose struggle to obtain an abortion led to the Supreme Court's Roe versus Wade decision, has come out against anything but first trimester abortions. How big a blow do you feel this is to the pro-choice movement?
Well, as I understand it, she's gone through a number of changes in her life and had a serious religious conversion and believes that abortion is wrong now. The rule of Roe v. Wade is it permits everybody in America to make that same decision. That is, I think there are too many abortions in America. I have always believed that abortions should be rare, but that they should be safe and legal until the 3rd trimester, when the child can live outside the mother's womb. If somebody hadn't made the decision by then, unless the life of the mother's in danger, I think they should be illegal, and they were in my state. But I think that leaving the decision to the woman and her doctor and whoever else she wishes to consult, I think on balance is still the right decision in our country.
I wanted to ask you if you were well, Jerry Garcia has affected millions of Americans. Were you a fan?
Me too.
Have you ever been to a Grateful Dead show? And why do you think he affects so many people of different backgrounds and generations?
Well, first of all, he was just a great talent. I mean, he was a genius. And I was really pleased to see the Grateful Dead have one more great run around the country, you know, in the last couple of years, and see all these young teenagers, you know, gravitating to a group that all of us liked 20 or more years ago. He had a great gift, and you know, he even wound up putting out that line of ties. He had great ties. I would go around wearing Jerry Garcia ties and giving them away to people. And so I was very sad when he died. But he also had a terrible problem that was a legacy of the life he lived and the demons he dealt with. You know, young people should say, I'm not going to die that way. I'm not going to die in a clinic with a drug addiction. I'm not going to do it. You don't have to have a destructive lifestyle to be a genius and make a contribution. You don't have to do that.
President Clinton's plans can be refused by Congress, but that is unlikely. What the administration is more concerned about is whether a judge will stall the new regulations from going into effect until the tobacco companies' lawsuits are settled. We'll keep you posted.
Thanks, Tabitha. After the break, we'll check in with Naughty by Nature frontman Tretch, who is suing his hometown police force, and hip-hop honors its own at the Source Awards when the Week in Rock continues. Welcome back to the Week in Rock. On Thursday, Anthony Chris, better known as rapper Tretch,